Hey everyone, Sumo Spiffy here. Welcome to our latest preview for Natsu 2023, this one for Kotonowaka and Midorifuji. This one should happen on day 11, but since we're dealing with matchups by record, it's much easier to predict which matches will be made at some point than necessarily which day. So, if I post a preview in the next few days that doesn't align with the upcoming day's schedule, please be patient. If I'm putting it up, I'm pretty sure the match will occur before the basho is over. Alright, Kotonowaka and Midorifuji. Kotonowaka leads the series 5-1. Midorifuji hit him with his famous Katsukashi back in 2021, and Kotonowaka has dominated the matchup since. This analysis will be a little different. Midorifuji's size and style mean that he's not likely to keep up with the highest level wrestlers over the long term, so we're looking for ways that he can score at least the occasional victory over a Senyaku level opponent and maintain his position near the top of the division. First, we're going to look at a few of Midori's past fights where he has landed that Katsukashi, and see if he might be able to use those tactics against Kotonowaka, despite the fact everyone knows that technique is always a threat. This one is against Endo from this past March. They battle to this position, where Midori has his right hand under Endo's left arm and around his back. This is a position Midori likes to adopt generally. He also has his left hand on Endo's elbow. He pulls with the left hand, getting Endo off balance in that direction, arm extended, then gets his hand on Endo's ribs. Instead of using that hand for an attack though, he releases and shoves the arm up, popping Endo's right arm up as well. He puts his hand back on Endo's chest, and Endo tries defending with a clamp, but Midori's well inside, so the clamp is only on his hand and thus not immensely effective. Endo pushes up with his right forearm, defending that side. He battles for control of Midori's left hand, then loses it when he pulls up on Midori's right arm. He has a pretty solid clamp in there, but Midori stays in place, and Endo has actually played into Midori's strategy. He's created a position where his arm is in the air, and Midori's head is under his chin. Taking advantage of this, Midori hops back for the throw attempt. Maybe it would have worked anyway, but Endo's feet slip, making it all the easier. Essentially, Midori got his right hand in place and put all his active effort into battling for control with his left. I don't have any way of knowing exactly what Midori was thinking, but this looked like a circumstance where he baited Endo's attention away from the underarm hold until he could find a good position to throw from. Next is his match with Ryuden in January. Ryuden's a pretty smart guy. He makes adjustments mid-fight better than most. Perhaps with that in mind, when Ryuden comes in with his right arm outstretched and his left held back, Midori immediately gets the underarm hold with his left arm rather than the right he tends to go with. He also has his right forearm on top of Ryuden's left. He pulls down with all his might, which includes that right forearm. Much like when we see a slapdown work by pushing on a wrestler's outstretched arms, Ryuden's defending left forearm works against him, and down he goes. Midori's left was so quick to lock in that it certainly appears this was preparation rather than reaction. That doesn't necessarily mean they predicted this would definitely work, just that they saw a possibility and trained it in case the chance to use the tactic arose. Here's Midori against Sadanoumi in November. They fight to this position, where Midori has the underarm grab in on the right. Sadanoumi switches his hand position to get underneath Midori's left and go for the belt. As we just saw though, Midori can take advantage of getting his forearm on top of his opponent's. He keeps Sadanoumi off the belt, pulls his left elbow up to get Sadanoumi to stand a little taller while attempting to clamp, then snaps the arm down to throw Sadanoumi off balance. It doesn't work quite as perfectly as against Ryuden, but in this position, as Sadanoumi is going down, we can see how absolutely locked in Midori is on the throw, and Sadanoumi hits the deck. Finally, lest we think this only works against weaker competition, here's Midori against Waka Prime, also from November. As usual, Midori finds a way to slip in that right hand and get the underarm hold. Waka, however, shows that he's fully aware of what Midori can do, pushing to the side with his left hand and thus keeping Midori from turning into the Katsukashi. Waka steps back though, taking his left hand off Midori's ribs like he might have been thinking about some kind of throw using his right arm clamp, but instead we quickly drop into Midori with the underhooks and Waka with the overhooks. Waka keeps swiping his right hand around, looking for some sort of advantage, but Midori's patient and just maintains. Waka bounces to the left, jamming his arm inside of Midori's, then keeps bouncing, for some reason looking like the one desperate for an answer. His left clamp slips more into a triceps hold. Midori just stays with him, hands locked onto his upper back. Waka uses his momentum to swing, his left hand grip to pull, and his right hand on the inside to push, but Midori just slides into the rope. Now Waka is in an absolutely atrocious position, leaning to his right with absolutely nothing supporting him. When Midori lets his left hand go, Waka's so off balance that Midori hardly needs to pull his arm to get him down. He does pull, though, to make sure the victory is complete. This was more a victory of circumstance than design. Waka badly misplayed this fight, and Midori happened to take advantage by landing a Kotonowaka. But it's still worth noting that Midori will do everything in his power to stay in a position to hit that move if given half a chance. Okay, let's get into these Kotonowaka matches. First is September 2022. Midori comes straight in, right hand high, left hand near his chest. It looks like a reach with the right and using his arm to absorb contact on the left. Kotonowaka's hands are low, and he's also coming straight in. As you might guess, this is pretty common for guys facing much smaller opposition. But Midori's right hand was a feint. He swings it low before contact. They smash chests, each one's arms angled low for a grappling attempt. Midori brings his left arm up and around, grasping Koto's triceps and looking to control his right arm. On the other side, he gets his arm under Koto's and takes his preferred underarm grip on the back of the shoulder. Kotonowaka responds by reaching for the belt. Midori immediately pulls down on the right side. This is how the Kotonowaka works, but he's not really in a great position for it here. It's not likely he's actually trying to land it immediately, just start getting Koto off balance and twisted up. However, Koto never locks in his hand on the belt and defends by pulling his hand back and dropping his weight into a clamp. Midori gets his feet off the ground, and to be entirely honest, I'm not sure what his plan was. He opted into that. Koto didn't just pull him off the ground. Unfortunately, it plays directly into Koto's move to get his right arm under Midori's left. Koto turns this instantly into a throw, and Midori is in no position to defend it. Some guys can drop their weight down before it's too late, but Midori doesn't have enough weight for that to work. Midori makes a last-ditch attempt to save the situation. His right hand is still under the arm, and his left is over Koto's shoulder, so maybe he can get some kind of throw if he can keep his feet under him. But Koto's not having it and shoves him down. Let's move on to Kyushu.
左からのいなし呼び込んでしまった攻め込んだ緑富士もろ差しの体勢を作りました決めに行こうという琴ノ若肩透かし嫌った琴ノ若さあここからもう一度緑富士が入ろうとする中右が入った左も入ったが押っつけ
No fake outs on the Tachiai this time. Midori's hands are coming up as he drives forward and Kotonowaka's arms are low, a waiting embrace for Midori to dive into. Midori has his hands inside, and from here, it looks like a clear pushing position. However, on the other side, we can see Midori comes in with his left arm bent, and even if he intended to extend it for a push, Koto stuffed it with a right arm block. With Midori pushing on that left side, Koto swings his right arm up and pushes Midori with his left to send him off balance. Midori switches stances quickly and grabs the belt to steady himself. Koto's weight is bearing directly on him, but his feet are in a very bad position, so he hops back into a better stance and pushes up with his right hand while pulling up on Midori's arm with his left. Midori has his preferred position of right arm around the back and even manages to drive Kotonowaka up, although the fact his feet have to leave the ground means he can only get a burst of power, not a sustained push. Midori tries his best though, getting the best push he can on Koto's chest once he lands, but Kotonowaka drops his weight back down and clamps the pushing arm. Here Koto has both of Midori's arms clamped tight, but Midori is pulling down with his right hand. If he can somehow free his left and get a good pull, he might be able to land his Kotonowaka. This moment is indicative of why Kotonowaka is so effective against Midori's attack. He's absolutely forcing Midori to slide left when Midori's desired throw requires stepping to the right where he has the underarm grip. Midori does his best, but Koto is squeezing the hell out of his arms and he can't get loose. Once they maneuver back to the center of the ring, Midori takes a big step to the right, pulling down with his right arm at the same time. Kotonowaka releases the clamp, though, to keep from being locked into the position as Midori attempts the throw. Because of this, he's able to push himself free and reset the fight. Midori dives in, Koto reacts with a pushdown. Midori resists and gets his hands on Koto's chest, but this is where he'll always be at a disadvantage. He has neither the power nor length advantage against anyone he'll face in this division. Kotonowaka, for his part, is perfectly happy with this type of battle. It's possible Midori could break the position and outspeed some guys to find a winning position, but if Koto's confident he won't be vulnerable to that tactic, he can wait for Midori to move and react if he's not able to find his own attack. Midori pulls back, and as soon as Koto's hand disconnects from his shoulder, he darts inside and gets his right hand back under Koto's arm. Koto seems fine with this though and just clamps it again. Midori steps forward with his left foot. Koto steps forward with his right. If Midori wants his favorite throw, he needs to step forward with his right foot, and he does, but at that moment, Koto pivots left, twisting towards Midori's underarm grip just as Midori has neither foot solidly on the ground. This is a good way to defend against the Katsukashi, sending his momentum and weight towards the side where Midori is hoping to find leverage. Koto lets the clamp go to allow Midori to slide away towards the rope, gliding into a pushing position while Midori ducks his head and attempts to defend. But when Midori hops forward, he just winds up in an even better position to be shoved out, and Kotonowaka makes it happen. Their most recent fight was in January. Midori changes Tachiai's, going for the Hokutofuji bear hug. Kotonowaka's hands are slightly higher than before, but it appears to be basically the same approach. Midori gets his right arm underneath Kotonowaka's left forearm. It's definitely not a strategy designed to land his preferred underarm grab. He needs his arm to be inside Koto's, not outside. It looks like he might be going for a front belt grab, which could trap Kotonowaka's arm inside. He doesn't land a grab though, and when Koto frees his left arm, Midori adopts his usual underarm hold, and as usual, Kotonowaka clamps it. Koto uses his right hand on Midori's chest to push while pulling up on the clamp, but Midori leans in and clamps the pushing wrist, putting immense pressure on Kotonowaka's forearm. With his right hand effectively trapped, Koto works to keep hold of Midori's right arm with his hand around the triceps. If he can maintain this grip, Midori can't pull him into a throw. Midori makes his move, releasing Koto's right hand in order to leap to the right and pull down on his head. Since his right hand only slips off at this point, it looks as though he may have been trying to jump into a Katsukashi, or at least enough of a pull to put Koto in a vulnerable position, but they end up completely disconnected. By the time his head is up, and before Midori can set his feet, Koto is already ready to push. A few strikes and he has Midori out of the ring, annoying Takakeisho as a bonus. Given everything we've seen, it's really hard to imagine Midori beating Kotonowaka without a major change in tactics. For all you Midori fans though, the March Basho should have been a sign that this might be possible. Midori started banging with people a lot more, and using a power game that hadn't been in evidence nearly as much before that, and since he didn't fight Koto, we haven't had a chance to see if that change in approach might pay dividends in this matchup. But we can be quite sure that if he decides to lean into the Katsukashi again, he's probably gonna get his ass beat. Kotonowaka can suffer from confidence issues sometimes, but he rarely beats himself tactically the way Waka did. That's it for day 11. Like it if you learned something, and I'll see you tomorrow.